became drinking buddies. We were just friends in the dorms of the university, and went our separate ways after that. About 4 years later, ran into each other just randomly. I was still playing bass in a band. He was interested in starting a project, and I had always wanted to try and play the drums. So I went out and got like a trading post, a local paper, and then found a $200 drum kit. It was falling apart, and the bass drum legs, it would tilt. It couldn't touch the ground at the same time, so every time I hit it, it would go one way or the other way. So I kind of learned, and that's how I ended up starting to play the drums. Cool. So at 22, I started playing.
I've been sent to music lessons when I was a kid, probably just try and keep me out of trouble. Nothing ever really took. Could strum on the guitar a little bit, but really never really do anything but digging around. Came to college, met this guy, and the city that the university is in Richmond, is a really small city, but very concentrated with artists and especially musicians. And it was almost kind of, that's what you did if you lived in the city. And so, it was a reason to hang out with friends and, drink beer and look at girls. You play in a band. So my friend had a drum set and roommates who were playing, and so I was playing around with his drum set. The bass playing roommate took off for the summer, and so he kicked me off the set onto the bass, and then that turned into the first band that I had been in. And then it was a couple bands later when we did actually run into each other. Chris gave me a job, thank God, because I've been unemployed for a while, as most musicians would know about. And we were just back in '94, thought making a metal band would be pretty cool, and really just for the sake of we're hanging out drinking and making cool music.
Cool, great. Well, you kind of touched on how the band kind of formed there as well. Can you tell us a little bit about how the band operates, and also a little bit about the kind of the main segments of how you got from that starting point to where you guys are now, and also the kind of infrastructure of the band? I know you guys are involved very heavily in how the band operates, and also maybe some of the people that you have working with you, tour managers, how important they are, whether they're regular guys or whether they're people that you kind of draft in or not.
Well, it started certainly very different than it is today. When we started, all we wanted to do was play a party, go out and get some free beer, and make some noise. We never thought that we'd be talking to you guys. We never thought we'd be playing at the Academy tonight. It was never a, let's be rock stars, let's see what we can try and do.
Yeah, for us to not be playing in a basement and actually playing a real club would have been a huge victory at one point.
Yeah, big time. So it started very, very small, and it was organic. John and I actually sat on my back porch, and screen printed our own T-shirts. We went to Walmart and bought blank T-shirts, and then came home and made them. So when we went to the shows, we would send out. We made a demo that we sent out to book our own shows.
All of which again was never ever to make any money. It was all just that'd be really cool if we had a T-shirt because we're a band, and we need a demo so people will say, okay, yeah, you can come play our party.
And they wouldn't. Most of these parties wouldn't pay us. They would say, yeah, you can come play, but we don't have anything. We'll give you some pasta, when you get there. So we'd sell 2 shirts and get a little bit of gas for the next show. And so it started very kind of organic. There wasn't a big label that came in and made everything happen, or a manager that solved everything. In fact, we didn't hire a manager,
competent manager,
until after we had signed to Epic Records. So we had done 3 proper full-length albums and toured the U.S. and come over here before we actually hired a manager, and it was.
And that's a business manager, not necessarily a tour manager.
Right.
And that would happen even later.
More for the purposes of having somebody at home able to speak with the different departments at the label on a daily basis if we were off touring and trying not to juggle everything. Years, and it wasn't an overnight thing. So we started with a very small crew. We had a friend of ours at the local store that would sell him strings and sell me drumsticks. So we said, hey man, we're leaving for a tour. Do you think you can come help us kind of get the gear on stage for the, quick and get it off?
Steal a bunch of sticks and strings on the way.
And get it off faster. And so he came out, and he was kind of the drum tech and the monitor guy for the band. And then we hired a sound man, and you kind of learn as you go along. It's not the first time you're out, you just begin to learn the lessons from the bands that you're out with, or you see your friends doing it a certain way, or you just kind of learn by example. And we've learned from both the successes and the failures of other bands. You see what doesn't work, and you try to avoid those pitfalls. And it's really not something I'd love to be able to tell you everything to look out for. There's not really a cheap way to do it. You kind of have to pay your dues a little bit and get through those hurdles and understand what it is that you specifically need. You know, our band may work different than other bands do. But for us, the first important thing was, obviously book our own shows, get out there and get the word of mouth out, and then bring, as soon as we could afford anything, the first thing was a sound man. So that when we were performing as well as we could, there was someone on our side on the other end that was helping us sound the way we should sound.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So after you've done those initial kind of basement shows, or we kind of got the out of the basement and into some of the smaller clubs, you've done 3 albums. How did you kind of fund doing that and get those albums out there? And how did the major labels start to hear about you guys?
Well, the first record I think was on a friend's credit card. He was starting a label and just he loved us and wanted to put out a record. And then we were also posting things on mp3.com, which is a website. I think it's changed dramatically from what it used to be. But it was basically the internet what made our songs available to people who were looking for us rather than us pushing our stuff on people. And we got lucky that the right guy heard it and heard something in it that he thought might work.
And how did it progress from there? How did once they got in contact, what was the kind of process to the point of doing the next album with them?
Well, we did really 6 years of shows with no record label. And those 6 years are what got the record label to come and look at us. The record label doesn't solve any problems. They'll help you get the CD into stores, maybe help you build a little more professional marketing plan for the release of a record or something like that. But they can't get people to come to your shows, and they can't sell the records unless you're out there touring and playing the music and getting people into it. So those 6 years laid what happened was we built such a following that the booking agents and the labels were then coming to us. We didn't have to send things to them. They were saying, who is this band? How do we not know who they are? They're bringing 300-400 people to this tiny bar and selling out this place and this other place. And it was slow. It was from, we'd play parties to 2 people, and then the next time we come back and there'd be 10 people, and the next time we come back there'd be 30 people. So it's a slow process, but you really have to do it for yourself. So once we were on the smaller labels, it was more on our terms. Again, we were still not looking to be rock stars or to have some kind of career. We were still doing it for fun. These record budgets were very small. The first record budget was $2,500, which is...
I think it's important also to say that through all this time, we still had jobs. We weren't living off the band. The band was still our very expensive hobby.
Yeah, sometimes we'd leave for a bit of a tour and come back and have to get different jobs. Get fired from when we left. So these small labels, small record budgets, you've heard the early records if you know us, they don't sound very good. It's because there were not much money, not much time in the studio. And then the album that we did, As the Palaces Burn, that came out and we were immediately on tour for it, and there was a big our first week sales, while it wasn't much, I think it was, we may have hit the top 100 or something on the US, but it was nothing special. But that caught the attention of the bigger labels, and soon after the release of that record, they were starting to talk to us about if it was possible to have a metal band like us on a major label, and we were completely surprised